So this is why I haven't been down to work on the Corvette in a while. You can see from the amount of snow, it just takes away your enthusiasm about going down there to work on it, because there's a trek down to the shop involved. It's about 100 yards through 1.5 foot deep snow, and it just takes away from the enthusiasm. But I have a burned out headlight on a 2015 Jeep that I'm getting set to go investigate, so I'm going to record that. So after a lot of searching online, I found these wiring diagrams, and there's a bunch of relays. TN1 is turn signal 1, turn signal 2, low beam 1, high beam 1, low beam 2, high beam 2. That's nice. So when you get to the relays, this is the relay box. There's 2 little clips on each side. You pull those out. Pull this up. I already cheated and took it off before, so I didn't reconnect it. And you notice instead of these being in one straight line, they're shaped like a 6-pack. So that diagram doesn't really help you determine which is which. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and see if I can set the camera up here, somehow get it focused on that. I'm going to try to, by process of elimination, see if I can't determine which is which. So there's the 6-pack worth of relays. What I'm going to do, try to find the turn signals. So the turn signals are on. Oh, that's nice. And what I've got out here is all 4 of them are on. Not all 4, both of them on the light bar, and just the right-hand side one on the Jeep. So now I've turned the left-hand turn signal on, and I still have both of them on the light bar and only the right-hand side on the Jeep. So I'm going to try to take out relays until I find the one that shuts this off. That's not it. So I'll put that back in. Now, this left one took the driver's side light bar and turned it off. Well, it turned both of the driver's side light bars. I'm suspecting this one on the right is going to be the relay. Nope. That is not the relay. It didn't shut off. I turned the right-hand turn signal on the Jeep off. I can feel the pulsing on all of them. Okay. Second one stopped all of the light bar when the turn signal's on. So it would look like this is the driver's side, I'm sorry, passenger side turn signal to the light bar. This looks like the driver's side turn signal. Now I'm going to try to find headlight situation. So I'm turning the headlight switch on. I'm sorry, not sure I have it on headlights. That might have been parking lights. That was parking lights. So what we have is the right side headlight on, low beam I believe, and that one shuts it off. Now we're going to look for the high beam. So the high beam on the passenger side is on. Let's guess this one. That's the high beam on the passenger side. Okay, now the next two are kind of dead because I don't know high beam, low beam on the driver's side because neither of those lights works. So I'm going to have to do some investigating with. Okay, that was high beam. Let's put it on low beam and disconnect those, see if it has any effect whatsoever. Nope. Both of those relays are out. And as I suspected, there's no headlight action on the driver's side, which was the original problem that I encountered. So I'm going to go do a little bit of looking and research and see what I come up with as my next step. So this relay box here is only held in, I believe, there's a zip tie right there. I think that's the only thing that's holding it in. So I'm going to cut that, and hopefully that will let me get this out of here where I can see it better. Well, might be a little more than that. Okay. There's another zip tie right down in here. It appears to be holding it in. All I'm trying to do is get this where I can see things, and I'll be able to get a test light in there. Jeez, useless pair of pliers. Can't even cut a zip tie with them. There, had to get it further back on the thing. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so that's going to help me some. I got it partially out. And I'm going to be able to clip some more zip ties, like on there. There's some here holding these cables in, and I'll be able to pull that out. So I'm going to shut off the camera, clip those, and get that out where I can see it. So it's being difficult to get those out of there the way the lines are running, so I'm going to remove the grill. There are 6 clips, 1, 2, 3. I've already taken out 4, 5, and 6 on the other side. And these were removed simply by getting a screwdriver under there, pulling up on them. This one came out as one piece. This part may come out by itself, and then you can remove this other one. If that's what happens. I don't have the hood prop up because I just flipped the hood all the way back. But we'll take these other clips out, and then we'll pull the grill forward. You know, that one came out, and they are keyed. They only go into this clip a certain way. If you look closely at this clip, it's an odd shape, so it has to be aligned properly to go down in there. But I will take the last one out and pull the grill forward. Okay, getting this grill off is a little harder than it looks. Trying to find a good way to show this. There are little clips in there. There's one. And what I had to do was take a big screwdriver, push down on this clip, and twist it. There are at least 4 of these across the front. There's one that I got through the first grill opening, one that I got through the third grill opening, one that I got through the 5th, and one that I got through the 7th, which is actually the first on the other side. But now what I think is going to happen, wish I had my tripod, but it's down in the other shop. Now what I think is going to happen is I'm going to be able to pull the grill completely off. Oh, by the way, I also disconnected the parking lights underneath, and there's still something holding it. Just a little pull on it. This is plastic, by the way. Or it's not metal. I don't know exactly what the material is. It's pretty lightweight, and I will show you what those clips look like and where they go, so that I can get access to the headlight, because I'm not sure what is going on, but there's a good close-up on the clip that I had to. I basically was pressing on that little pin, that little lever right there with the screwdriver to get it out. I suppose you might have been able to just brute force it out, but because of the way it's bent, there's a hump on here, and then on the other side you can see a hump. You might be able to just brute force it out, but I pressed down on that with a screwdriver, and that helped. So that leaves me now with the open grill, where I can get at that headlight to see what that wiring harness behind it is like. So I'm going to take and use a T15 Torx screwdriver to take out that headlight ring, and I think it would have been quicker to just walk around the Jeep instead of crawling over the plow, but it is what it is. And then we'll see how this is connected in here. This is what you would have to do to change a light bulb. I have seen comments on a forum somewhere that you can remove the horn from back there, which is held on with one torque screw, and you can reach it from there, but it looked like a tight fit to get a torque screwdriver in there. There are 4 of these T15 screws holding this headlight in. One of them on this side is pretty tight quarters. The rest are pretty easy. So, there's that. Now the question is, there should be a harness in here. Connects this green one is probably the original. I don't know if you can see it here. I'll bring it over. There's a green one in here that looks like this. It probably hooked right to that bulb directly before the plow was put on. So there's also this other part of the harness. This is an adapter right here. Goes to the original wiring, and then this is part of the harness that goes to that box with all the relays in it. Take you over and show you this green adapter. There it is right there. Connects to the harness. This Y-shaped thing is an adapter. It's vehicle specific that then goes to the harness. That harness goes to the relay box. So I have a test light hooked up. Hooked up to a hot lead, so if I ground this out, if I ground it out on a good ground, the light lights up. So what I found is that on this harness that goes back to the relay box, pin B, which is supposed to be the ground, is this second one here, and I'm not getting a ground. I'm not getting a light. So that leads me to believe that my problem, trying not to drop the camera here, my problem is that that gray wire that is connected to pin B goes to pin B, which is diagonal from the empty slot for a pin. according to my diagram here. See, E says no connection, and catty corner to that on the other side. First one is yellow, black, A, low bulb, gray, B, common. Okay, the rest are yellow and white, low harness. I don't know what that means. High bulb, turn signal, purple wire, parking light, brown wire, and F is green and white, high harness. I believe that goes to the harness that you connect the lights when it says harness, and you connect the light bar to it. So I'm going to try and track down why I don't have a ground on that. What I have done in the meantime, without videoing it, is I have, and maybe I should do that, I have checked continuity on the bulb. Both elements have continuity, so I don't think it's a bulb. And this harness here, I checked here, which is the harness that was on the Jeep, by connecting my test light to a ground and then turning on the low beams, and I got it lit with the low beams on the proper pin. High beams same way. And to check the ground from there, I connected the hot lead, connected the other end of the test light to a hot feed, and then touched the ground wire, and that was good. So I believe that this harness doesn't have a good ground somewhere on the other side. So I'm trying to figure out how to take apart the fuse box. We'll see what goes. Okay, another test I've done in the meantime is looking at this diagram. Pin B is the ground. B, ground. So that is that one right there. So as you can see, when I touch that, I've got a light. So that's good. That means that the ground through from the Jeep harness to the adapter harness to the light bulb is all good. I'm wondering now if I'm a little bit afraid to apply power to one of these ones that lights the light bulb, because I don't know what else I might be backfeeding, so I don't want to do that. I'm going to chase that gray wire from this harness and see what I get. I thought I was recording and I wasn't. There were two connectors here that I pried out of there thinking it would release this box here, but it didn't. So I've got to figure out how to release it to get behind here to see what's going on back there. Okay, this is the relay, the bottom of the relay box. There's little tabs 4 of them right here. And I was able to get a screwdriver under them and release them one at a time and keep this pulled away. And then when I got all 4 released, it came off the bottom. Now, let's see what that shows us underneath. I still need to get some slack in those wires. I know it's there, I just have to figure out how to pull it back. So I finally figured this out, I think. The center pin on this thing here, which is the harness on the Jeep, is looking a bit corroded, and then there's an adapter piece that goes in between that connection and the headlight connection because it's got to have a connection to the harness for the plow. And if you look inside the part, and I dropped it. If you look inside the part that connects into the headlight harness here, that center pin, I don't know how well you can see it, but that center pin looks kind of nasty. So I'm thinking that there's a weak ground between those two. I did have them connected, and it did work. But what I am going to do, I cut into the ground wire here that's a part of this harness that adapts the plow to the body of the Jeep. And I'm going to take that, and I'm going to take a 10 gauge wire and splice it into that. And I'm going to run it back here to a nut where everything else is grounded, because that's a known good ground. Once I do that, I should have a good ground, because I'm effectively bypassing this part of the connection between here and here where it's corroded. I don't have another vehicle available right now to go get connectors, and I don't even know if you can get this one, because typically that connector is the back of a light bulb. So that's what that mimics, to go into the harness on the Jeep. So I am going to get some 10 gauge wire, run that ground, and connect it all up, and I think it'll work. I find it easy to use these crimp-on connectors, but always with dielectric grease attached or used on it so that it doesn't corrode. And what I'm trying to do here is to connect this heavy ground wire I put in. It's a 10 gauge, which I connected to that bolt there. You can see the yellow connector that's crimped onto the 10 gauge wire. Problem is, I can't fit a 10 gauge wire plus the wire I need to connect to over here under that crimp-on connector, because it's made for 10 gauge wire being the thickest wire you can use. So I make myself a little pigtail, and the problem here is, on one side I need one wire, but on the other side I need 2 wires. See if I can find the other wire right here. And you really want the red connector for the single wire, but it doesn't fit for the other wire. Well, these type of connectors, that's a female receptacle, and oops, I didn't bring the male red one, but you can put a female blue to fit over these wires that are doubled and twisted together, and then use a red one on the other side, because the part that plugs in is the same regardless of which size wire you're using. This isn't the easiest way for me to show, but what I've got here is I've stripped a 10 gauge wire and got dielectric grease on it already. I'm going to take the connector and slip it on there, and of course I put my crimpers out of the way so I can't reach them. But once you've got that inserted in there, you just crimp the metal part that's connecting the wire. That should give me a good ground now. Then what I'll do is, I've already put a connector. Notice it's a red one because it's thin wire that it's crimped onto. Put some dielectric grease on the female part of the plug, and then just simply take and connect the two plugs. It gives you an insulated connection. No exposed wires. This is a ground, so it probably wouldn't matter much anyways. But again, some dielectric grease on the connection, and then where I spliced into the ground wire on the harness, just simply push that in. That'll give me a good connection. I'll put this sheath back on the harness and tape it up with some black tape on the end so it doesn't come off, and I'll slip that all behind the headlight and put it back together. Okay, I ran out of battery, so I didn't video me putting everything back together, but it's time for the big show and tell. So right now the plow is disconnected, so when I turn the headlights on, I should get the headlights on the Jeep. And we have headlights. And we have high beams. Now the big thing is plug it in, and these should drop off, and the lights on the plow should come on. So when I plug this in, nothing happened. And I thought first, by the way, I cheated and I tested this before. I thought first my cure didn't work. However, as it turns out, the relays are powered by an ignition on switch and so the reason they're powered by a fuse that's only on when the ignition is on is because the relays would suck power while it was parked, and you would run out of battery, Kelly battery. So those are the high beams, low beams. Left turn signal. Right turn signal. I can see the reflection on the wall. Okay, all that's left is to put the front back on. off the lights. Shut off the turn signal. Shut off the ignition. And while I'm putting this on, tell you about some other things that might be important. Number one, I took the turn signal lights lenses out of the grill because my feeling is it's going to be easier to bring that grill back in place and the parking light back in place by putting the light bulb through the hole in the grill and then putting the light back in, or the lens back in. So there's the light bulb through the grill, and I got to make sure I got the right one. This is the left. There are two little tabs here that fit into two little slots, and it just pops in. It was real easy to take it out by squeezing those tabs on the back side. So there is a way that this goes in. One of these three tabs is bigger, or slots is bigger than the others. So when you're putting it in, you have to make sure that lines up. And then you give it a little twist. Line up those holes, snap it in place. Very easy. Now the clips that hold the grill on, you might need a pair of pliers to squeeze those tabs to get them in. The holes on there. And it might be easier, we'll try it, it might be easier to do it without the pin that holds it in. Yeah, way easier to do it without the pin that holds it in. And then you simply line this up. As I said before, there is only one way it'll fit, so kind of not real obvious, but you pop it in like that. 6 of those in. The other parking light, and the job is done. It's really easy to tell which way those things line up. I'm going to try this one again with it extended further out. See if I can get it in without taking it apart. Yeah, there it went in. That wasn't quite lined up. And you snap it down. So 3 more tabs on either side and it's done. But the critical thing that I found out is you have to really pay attention if you're testing the lights on the plow to make sure that you remember to turn on the ignition so that you have actual power to the relays, or else the lights on the Jeep will stay on. So that's pretty much it for this job. It turned out to be more confusing than it had to be. Maybe partly because I was chasing shadows by trying to find out why the plow lights weren't coming on, and it might have been as simple as I didn't have the ignition switch on. So persistence pays off. A lot of times you learn stuff in the process, but as I said, I always show the good, bad, and the ugly with my jobs, because it doesn't always go as smooth as some of the videos that I see on the internet. Have a good day. Hope this was useful.